Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. We are of course talking wrestling today with a primary focus on the Bad Blood pay-per-view that is due on the 5th of October. So quite a few weeks away, but the entire card has already been laid out. We're going to be focusing on some of the results we're expecting, the match card, some changes we're going to be looking at, as well as a few pitches that are happening backstage from creative, including Tag Champions Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Yeah, that's one that's going to be coming. More on that story later. We've got a little bit more about contracts, a little bit on the War Games teams, LA Knight's next opportunity, what's going on with AJ Styles, and something on Jey Uso and Rhea Ripley. So stick with me. We will get through as much of that as we can, but we are going to start with our top story, which is the Bad Blood card. Before we continue, we are currently live on 3 platforms. We are on Twitch, we are on YouTube, and we are on X one more time. We will not be regularly streaming on X, so if you are watching on X, this is the time, of course, to take that opportunity to pop across to YouTube. There is already 41 people on the YouTube side, 15 likes, keep those thumbs coming if you can. And this time, 3 days ago, I was saying we only need a little bit more to get to 6,900. Now we only need 2 more to get to 6,950. So be sure to remember that as we go through this news. Every little does help and I very much appreciate it. The Bad Blood card as it's currently planned out is Bron Breakker versus Jey Uso for the Intercontinental Championship. This is another scalp for Bron Breakker and another time when Jey Uso is essentially giving the rub to someone else who's just become a champion. It follows the ascension of Damian Priest, which also, the first championship defense, came against Jey Uso, but it's also with a plan to a long-term feud between the Bloodline and Bron Breakker, eventually getting to Bron Breakker versus Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is expected to take a big loss to Bron Breakker at some point in the near future. That's what Triple H is pitching anyway. Jey Uso is a pretty big name, really will help Bron Breakker with the overall heel element, but Jey is not expected at this point to become the Intercontinental Champion. I'm going to be going through all of the matches on this card, as well as sharing plentiful other information as I get to it about what else might be happening in and around these individuals. I'll also, of course, be keeping up with the chat. If you're a regular here, you'll know full well what we tend to do here is we'll share a bit of news, we'll catch up with the chat, we'll share a bit of news, we'll catch up with the chat. Stick around, there's plenty more you can find, and drop any questions that you have in the comment section. Sean says, hello Tom, welcome Sean. Spider-Boss says, Roman and Cody joining forces to face a new bloodline is something I never saw coming. It's a funny old world we live in. Sean says, it was good to see Bobby Roode on SmackDown this week in the crowd, even though it was only for a few minutes. Spider-Boss also says, since Roman and Cody will team up at Bad Blood, I guess the OG Bloodline reunion will happen after Bad Blood. I've already explained when I expect the OG Bloodline reunion, it won't be long. Ed says, hey, hey, hey everyone, throwing 3 hays out there. Ed is a madcap guy. Luke and Chris says, hi everyone. Hello Luke and Chris. Spider-Boss says, my only hope for Bad Blood is Rhea finally wins the women's world title back. Let's see how that goes. Declan says hi, welcome Declan. Sid says, do you think Roman will turn on Cody at Bad Blood? Not necessarily. I don't think there'll be a breakup there. I do think they are currently cementing Roman's position as a face. Y6 says, you have great sources. Thank you. I do think it's beneficial that I'm able to report things which shortly afterwards are typically proven right. Certainly helps the overall reputation. I actually checked my reputation on Grok, which is the Twitter, X I should say, AI platform. Pretty good. It's pretty good. You guys have been saying nice things about me and I appreciate it. Juan says, awesome. Hey Tom, can you confirm or deny this report? According to Ringside News, Steve Carrier, he says Saraya and Britt Baker were angry with Mercedes money because of the perks she got. No, I can't confirm that. I don't believe that to be true. Bailey says, any news why NXT cancelled its St. Louis arena appearance for a much smaller venue? They were not selling the tickets as they were expecting. Declan says, watch the pig. Bismo says, good evening Tom, hope all is well. Doing very well, thank you Bismo. Welcome to the show. And Joe says, hello everyone. Hello Joe. Juan says, according to Forbes, DirecTV and Disney have struck a deal after a 2-week blackout, meaning FX is now back in the running for AEW. At the moment, Warner Bros. Discovery is still in the prime spot. After all, according to many pundits, it's already been confirmed. Funny that. It's a weird one. Gunter versus Sami Zayn is expected for the Bad Blood card as well. Sorry guys, just doing a bit of research while live. I do apologise for it. So yes, Gunter versus Sami Zayn is another one that's expected for the Bad Blood card. Sami Zayn has been presented as Gunter's kryptonite, and this is a great opportunity for Gunter to get his win back. That's the expectation. There's nothing particularly fancy here. No one is expecting anything particularly egregious or anything particularly substantial here. Gunter will get himself a scalp back. Sami Zayn will get an opportunity to prove himself at an even higher level, even though he very much doesn't need it. And much like Kevin Owens previously, a World Championship match goes to someone who is currently negotiating a contract. Because of currently negotiating the contract, there is no chance whatsoever of him winning. But they do want to make a point. Stick with us and you'll get World Championship opportunities. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are both expected to sign new deals with the WWE in short order. There is no rush from the WWE because they are confident that no rush is needed. They will get their men. Nice and easy one there. Michael says, hi Tom. Welcome Michael. Ishii says, hello Tom. Hope you're okay. Doing well, thank you Ishii. Are the Wyatt Six still going after Chad and the Creeds? We'll find out tonight. Craig says, can't wait to see who the Wyatt Six goes after next. There are a lot of opportunities there. Bo Dallas, as I've reported previously, has been trying to pitch a number of different options, not necessarily options that the WWE are going to take. Hector says, I wonder if this will end better than the Mega Powers. Probably not, no. Marcel says, please watch the pig, always do. Zane says, will we ever see Roman and Cody become tag team champions in the future? More on that shortly. Spider-Boss says, Jey Uso has been always that guy who put over who WWE wants. Seems the only way for Jey Uso to win gold is in a tag team with Jimmy. Unfortunately, yeah. Sean says, Fightful Select put out a report saying Charlotte Flair is not cleared yet. That's not the information I've been given, but it's certainly true that we haven't seen her as of yet. Judging by some of the videos she's putting out, yeah, she seems pretty fine. Y6 says, is there any solid storyline set for Xavier Woods? Yes, he's currently competing for the tag team championships, though there's nothing particularly long-term involved. He was the one pushing to tease a heel turn, and he was the only one pushing for that. Shout again says, happy Monday, Tom. After the reception on Friday, when should we expect to see Ricky officially in the WWE? I kind of expect it's going to happen, you know. I know a lot of people don't, but I kind of do. That says, Tom, any AEW news regarding Wardlow? Why he's not being used on TV and Miro? No news at this point in time. I've never had anything on Wardlow, unfortunately. As regards Miro, there are conversations happening, and they're not necessarily good conversations. Troy says, hey Tom, hope all is well. Doing good, thank you Troy, welcome to the show. Anime Fiend Zeno says, hi Tom. Hello Zeno, good to see you. Kelvin says, I don't see Jay versus Bron Breakker happening at pay-per-view because WWE already has 6 matches. 1. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. 2. Rhea versus Liv Morgan. 3. Tag team match. 4. Finn versus Damian Priest. 5. Nia versus... 6. Sammy versus Gunter. Why would Nia Jax be wrestling? I think you've got confused there, Kelvin. There is 6 matches. That's true. But you've missed one. Drive-By says, what do you see as being the main event of Bad Blood? I expect it'll be the Hell in a Cell match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. A good question for everyone, though. One thing I do want to ask. Is that the match that you expect to main event Hell in a Cell? Look at the Hell in a Cell card. Work out what you think will be the... Not the Hell in a Cell. Look at the Bad Blood card. Tell me what you think should be the main event. Blue says, hi Tom. I've been expecting Gunter Sammy for Bad Blood, but I've been wondering if they hold it off till Saudi because of how over Sammy is there. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I do suspect Gunter will be defending against someone else in Saudi. Sean says, Grayson Waller is having a PWA Black Label to face Jimmy Townsend. Yep, they loan people out nowadays. It's a surprise to many. Spider-Boss says, genuinely, I don't get what WWE see and Liv Morgan's title reign. Liv's title reign got stale pretty quick after SummerSlam. To be fair, she'd been the champion for a little while by SummerSlam. Trekkipedia says, Tom, will the next day of WWE go to Peacock once Hulu loses the rights to Raw and NXT? It's set to expire on September 25th according to the service's WWE page. No, to my knowledge, Netflix get the deal. One says, thank you, Tom. Once I read it, I couldn't believe this was news. That's why I came here to tell you. Always, mate. You know I've got your back. Declan says, according to Sportskeeda, Becky Lynch is returning to Bad Blood to cost Liv a title. Just to be clear, apologies for that little moment there. Just to be clear, Sportskeeda does not report news. If you've read something you believe it to be news, it definitely isn't happening. KJ says, what's up, Tom? What's up, KJ? This guy says, any plans on who'll be leaving SmackDown after the Bayley, Naomi versus Nia and Tiffany match? I'm sure we'll be finding out. I've got my eye on Naomi. I suspect she will be moving across to work with Liv Morgan. Roger says, Xia Li is making an appearance in TNA as Xia Li. Drive-by says, what do you make of today's report that AEW think WWE will do a show at Wembley next year? Sounds like pressure. Kevin says, SmackDown was okay, nothing special or great, which is always fair. And Ishii says, Tom, I always like coming on here to see your spoiler warning. You're the best at spoiler warning. Thank you kindly. That is the name of the show, so I'm technically the only one with spoiler warning, but I take the compliment and I appreciate it. Next up, Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Now, this is a match I expected to have wait until WrestleMania, and I kind of still do. I don't think this match will actually go ahead of Bad Blood. I think we'll just see a massive brawl, and the whole thing will be called off and pushed back. And before you know it, they're just avoiding actually having Finn Balor and Damian Priest in the ring together. I think they will tease it, I think they'll book it, and I think it'll be a glorious mess. Finn Balor, Damian Priest is going to be a big one. It is something that they are eager to have last. And Damian Priest getting revenge this quickly doesn't quite sit well with me, especially when you consider that Finn Balor is not likely to be competing for gold anytime soon. Certainly not against a Bron Breakker or a Gunter. I can say that with confidence. Spider-Boss says, would be cool if the Wyatt Six go after Dominic Mysterio, considering Dom betrayed his dad and his mammy. Certainly backup would be needed, and that could be a reason why Judgment Day would move on from Damian Priest fairly quickly. Marcel says, I want Ricky vs KO at Mania. We have a little bit about what we may be looking for with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Robin Dave says, hey Tom, I made it. Hope you're well. Doing very well, thank you, Robin Dave. Welcome to the show. Wyatt Sixer says, future plans for Joe Hendry. They're waiting for the dust to settle again. They are currently considering future plans for Joe Hendry. Nothing has been formalised yet, but they're very happy with his work and they're interested in signing him. Erin says, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Erin. Welcome to the show. Bailey says, your thoughts why Big E simply can't be the manager for New Day if he can't wrestle? Lack of interest. Blue says, Nia and El should face someone at Bad Blood this past SmackDown. Ed also confirms that. I must have missed it when I was watching it through. Bailey thinks the main event should be Liv versus Rhea. Leo said the tag match, but it should be Punk versus Drew. Angel says, will Liv versus Rhea be Hell in a Cell? More on that shortly. Bliss Gamer says, I think Cody and Roman versus a Bloodline will main event. Luke and Craig says, I've heard in the Pro Wrestling Times podcast, WWE is deliberately spreading the rumour that they are interested in Daniel Garcia in order to mess with Tony Khan. What is your take on that? To my knowledge, there is interest from WWE in Daniel Garcia, but not to the level that is being extolled. For those who follow me on X, you'll note that there was someone who was bombarding me with all sorts of crap that I've since blocked. Today, this morning, the reason I did block them is because I woke up to the message, see, I told you Daniel Garcia would sign with WWE. He hasn't. Still with AEW. For now, at least. Ryan says, I think Rhea vs Liv could be a Hell in a Cell and main event for Bad Blood. One says, I'm happy with Punk vs Drew as the main event, as long as they don't go the extent of Hangman and Swerve violence. Zane says, do you think Joe Hendry will beat Nick Nemeth for the TNA World title at Bound for Glory, TNA's version of WrestleMania? I think he should. I think now's the time to capitalise on what's becoming a very big name. Hector says, apart from a couple of people, do you think the way former WWE wrestlers have been booked to this point is also a reason why less talent have gone to AEW? Yeah, pretty much. A lot of people recognise at the moment, AEW has got a lot of people. It's going to be very hard to rise to the top. It's actually a much more streamlined service over at WWE if you can get past NXT, which most will not. Blue says Punk vs Drew will be the main event, though I'd have a world title match in the last spot every time. Next up, let's talk about the next match. which is going to be Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. Now, there is still time, and I expect this match to become Hell in a Cell. I also expect it to open the show. There is talk, yes, rumours, of Raquel Rodriguez getting involved, though I do think it is more likely that Raquel Rodriguez would be the next opponent for Liv Morgan, so I'd expect her to turn up on the Raw after instead. For those that forget, Raquel Rodriguez, while she was briefly in a tag team with Liv Morgan has since changed affiliation, and that doesn't necessarily mean that Raquel Rodriguez will either, so it's interesting to see how that plays out. The Judgment Day are unlikely to be involved in this one. There may still be some element of Dominic Mysterio, but certainly if there's going to be Wyatt Six involved, that really does even that playing field. So it's interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks. I expect we will actually see the Wyatt Six still working with American Made, or at least basically just doing backstage promos to kill time until after Bad Blood, when they can start getting involved with more people. Spider-Boss says Nia will be defending her women's title versus Bayley and Naomi. Only if Bayley and Naomi beat Nia and Tiffany in a tag team match at SmackDown. I mean, that would be pretty fun. Dawn says hi everyone. Hello Dawn. Marcel says I want it to be a Hell in a Cell match, but I think they'll give it to Roman and Cody because they see them as bigger stars. To be fair, they are bigger stars. Robin Day says people wanted Jimmy Uso for SmackDown, but it's not time for him to show up yet. Hopefully it won't be much longer, and also Roman's still acting like a heel, but slowly will be a good guy. He very much will. Ian says, great content as always. Hashtag watch the pig. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate you. Sean says, I was surprised there weren't any interferences in the steel cage match on SmackDown. I mean, we did still get Roman, but they picked their moment. And Sid says the YouTube stream is going perfect. Thank you, Sid. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. How are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you, Noob, and I hope you are also. Drive-by says, I guess we've all been expecting Drew and Punk to main event, but the Bloodline tag match is now up for debate. I did report the Drew versus Punk match as early as SummerSlam because we knew what was happening here. Blue says, I'm a money fan, but I feel the time in AEW has not gone well at all. Feels like a much lesser deal than she did before. Is it true she gets a big say in her booking? She gets a say in her booking. She doesn't have necessarily a big say. Creative control is a concept that most wrestlers don't seem to fully understand. As regards her time in AEW, I think she's been fantastic. I think she's elevated the women's division, and I think she's, in a small way, elevated AEW. I think, unfortunately, AEW is a smaller platform than WWE. That might be why she feels like a lesser deal to you. Noob says, any updates on Charlotte Flair coming back? Last news I had was that she was cleared and they're waiting for the right moment. Zeno says, is the Demon going to return against Damien? I don't expect to see the Demon at this point. I do think if they do manage to push it to WrestleMania, that will be the one to do it with. Spider-Boss says, it surprised me that Rhea vs. Liv 2 hasn't a special stipulation, considering Dom can get involved. As I say, there is time to get to this one more time with another Hell in a Cell. Devils wants Ricky versus Owens at WrestleMania. Make it happen. Wish I could. But wait till I tell you what match is actually being considered. Aaron says, with the tease on SmackDown, is it possible the Six won't appear tonight and show then? It's not impossible. The Wyatt Six aren't necessarily drafted anywhere. They can pop up as they will, but to my knowledge, they are Raw at the moment, at least on the internal listings. Roger says, why did WWE bring back the Bad Blood PLE? Because they didn't want to bring back Hell in a Cell, but they definitely wanted to make allusions to it. Nelson says, do you know if JBL is still a part of WWE? He still has a Legends contract with them, yes. Sean says, CM Punk will appear on NXT this Tuesday to make an announcement of what he'll be doing on the CW premiere in Chicago. What do you think his announcement will be? A wrestling match. Wyatt Six says, is there any truth Big E will be back at some point? Yes and no. There is nothing concrete. Everything I have on this was live in the WTF Wrestling video from 2 weeks ago. Check that out for more information. But nothing has been confirmed at this point. I said, good to see you, Tom. Good to see you too. Angel said, is the rumour of Saraya being unhappy about Mercedes' special treatment in AEW true? Nope. Kevin says you can do Bron Breakker versus Jey Uso and Nia versus, pay-per-view Bad Blood kickoff show. You could, but I have reported previously they're trying to do 6 matches. The creative team are trying to sort of nudge Triple H in that direction. KJ says, regardless as to who we think should main event a Bad Blood, isn't it great there's like 3 matches that could? Yeah. Roger says, will Paul White ever wrestle in AEW in the future? He wants to. Unfortunately, it seems like it's very unlikely at this point. At the moment, we have 117 people watching on YouTube, only the 45 likes. 5 more gets us to 50, a nice round number that I'd very much enjoy. If you can, please hit that like button and let me know when you have. Next up, the tag match. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns will team up against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. This is not old Bloodline versus new Bloodline because Cody Rhodes has never been a Bloodline member, but it does very much feel like Sting in the NWO. Cody should not be there. But there are a number of options available to them to continue the build of this match. First and foremost, there is consideration about, depending on the winner, whether Sikoa and Jacob Fatu are the right people for this. In this current lineup, a definitive big name, or Solo Sikoa, is taking a big pin. Now, Roman seems the most likely if they're going to lose rather than Cody. What I will say is that there is an option to swap Tama Tonga in for Jacob Fatu, the idea being that Tama Tonga can be the one to take the loss. This also opens up a number of other avenues as to where this can go. And yes, there is talk of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns taking the tag team championships. This does evoke times and memories of when I first started watching wrestling, when The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin were the tag team champions. It's a very strange place to be. There is also an expectation now that Cody Rhodes will be joining the Bloodline in War Games. That would mean Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso and Sami Zayn on one side, on the other Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu and the tallest of Tongas, Tola Tonga. That would be then 5-on-5, and that could be potentially what we're looking at, but we are fairly confident that it's going to be the Bloodline Civil War as previously reported. I also want to talk briefly, before I go into more detail of the previous matches, there is talk of a Roman and Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens and Randy Orton feud, a positive feud, which does then become about tag team championships. This is one of those that would continue the build towards Cody Rhodes being turned on, I should say, by Randy Orton, but also means that Kevin Owens could renew his rivalry with Roman Reigns. This could be, I feel, a very good tag match, but I don't think it needs tag team championships. One last thing I'll say on this, there is talk of Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania next year, as Randy Orton turns heel and starts to build towards taking on Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship after Cody vanquishes the final boss. Shot up by 9 likes to 54. Lovely to see. Already gone up to 120 viewers. Thank you everyone, please keep it going. Hector says, I think Cody and Roman are going to main event because Cody's from the area. He's been all over the marketing for this show, going all the way back to the announcement video. Very true. Didn't remember about the announcement video. It's a good shout. Spider-Boss says, Rhea for the win at Bad Blood. Yeah, give me your predictions, guys. Give me your predictions as well. Let me know who you think's going to win what. Joel says, Joe Hendry and a wrestler named Joey Jet Avalon won the Midwest All-Star Wrestling Tag Team titles. What a great thing to have on your resume. Blue says they have a men's Hell in a Cell already. I don't think they'll do two. If there is another Hell in a Cell match, it will be the women. It would indeed be. Ross says, evening all. Evening, Ross. KJ says they also said that the women weren't happy with her... Oh, about Steve Carrier. I think he since deleted the tweet. Interesting. James Bryan says, so tired of all this Bloodline crap, let's move on to something new. To be fair, Bloodline has been going for more than 4 years now. And it's going to be going for a while longer. Spider-Ball says, when Roman was waiting to get the mic on SmackDown, I immediately thought in Heyman. Heyman used to give the mic to Roman. Now he has to carry his own water. What a horrible life to live. Mary says, hi Tom, hope you're good. At Bad Blood, do you expect Roman and Cody to lose to Jacob and Solo? Personally, no I don't. Roger has ordered a No More BS Paul White shirt. Nita Nitro says, hey Tom, went to the Q&A with Lita last week. She revealed she almost signed to AEW to work with Britt, but felt they didn't put enough effort into the women's division. She was very compelling. Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate it. That's you have just broken some news, Nita. You've broken news right here in this chat, and I appreciate you for it. Shy Game says, fantasy booking question for you and even the chat. If you could make one trade between AEW and WWE, champions excluded, whom would you pick? I'd go Gargano for Jay White. Fairly common question here, actually, when it comes to trades. A lot of people get real angry about it, but let's go for it, see what happens. Who'd you go with? Once I say, Tom, good old Dave Meltzer and Conan have been reporting garbage reports on AEW. Why do people take them as credible still? Have they not learned yet? There's the answer. They've not learned yet. Ross says AEW can put on good shows, but it's more just matches with ridiculous spots. Ed just mentioned they need to improve storytelling. As I say, and as I've been reporting, there is a new creative team in place that is actively attempting to improve the overall storytelling. I think there are certain matches recently which have hit that nail on the head. Blue says 6 matches should be the norm for all the smaller PLEs. Only show that should have 5 is the Rumble. Eric says on SmackDown last Friday night, the White 6 Pluto symbol has appeared behind Nick Aldis and Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. As I previously mentioned, when it comes to those teases, that is Bo Dallas largely leading those, not necessarily the creative team. Kelvin says, I don't understand why Tiffany Stratton never teases cashing on Liv Morgan Money in the Bank. You can cash in for any championship. You can. More on that very shortly. Mick says, hi Tom, hope you're fine. Thank you for your always great show and work. Appreciate that, Mick, and thank you as always for translating my work into German and spreading the word about it. I very much appreciate you for doing so. Spider-Boss says, WWE love the unlikely allies join forces for facing a common enemy. WWE did that for years under Vince and they do it now. They do indeed. Just quickly before moving on, I want to roll it back to Mick there. For those unaware, Mick translates my reports into German, shares them on TikTok and other platforms, and in doing so is able to help grow his audience, have plenty of content, and also spread the word about my own work as well. So it's a very win-win situation. Mick reached out to me a while back and asked about this. It was years ago now, and it's still a situation that works well for both of us. He has plenty of content. I have plenty of people that my content is reaching. It's a wonderful thing. If you're interested in this sort of arrangement, it's very easy to do. Just let me know you're planning to share the news. Obviously, source it to myself. If anything goes wrong, people will come looking for me, and that's what I want, rather than them coming looking for you. And it will give you content to share as well, because as many of you know, my work doesn't exactly go flying to all the big names for a reason. Angel says Sammy Uso. Ross says Randy and KO might not be long-term happy if Cody joined Roman. Very true. Bam Bam says, are we getting Wyatt 6 versus Judgment Day after Bad Blood? I'm unable to confirm that this time. Sean says, I think Bayley would take the pin in the tag match and move to Raw. I don't see Naomi being on a separate brand than Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso, not even there right now. Kevin says, no thanks, I don't want to see another Roman versus Kevin Owens for the 10th time. To be fair, there is a lot of them. Spider-Boss says, Cody said he didn't want none with the Bloodline, then he joined Roman versus the new Bloodline. Yeah, there is a lot of times when that happens recently. Yeah, a lot of going back on your word. Cody basically changed the WrestleMania main event because he wanted to. Devil says, it's crazy. What will The Rock think about Roman teaming and winning the tag titles with a person that disrespected their family? The Rock might have to get some revenge. Kevin picks a referee to win. Interesting. Angel says there's rumours of Team Liv versus Team Rhea at War Games. Who do you see joining those teams? I do have more to share on that, and I'll be able to share it shortly. Wyatt 6 says if you want to be in WWE, it seems it's a waiting game. Looks definitely worth the wait in most situations. True. Hector says, is Coolio actually side with WWE to this point or no? I assume he's the tall one. He is indeed the tall one. Wikipedia says, I love the ending credits on the bottom of the screen on SmackDown. Nice throwbacks to WCW. Yeah, they're trying to differentiate and really stand out. Nita's got the scoops. The other Mike says, does War Games need for 5 participants? Can it not be 4 versus 4? More on that shortly. Spider-Boss says, considering how WWE is protecting Jacob Fatu, wouldn't surprise me if Solo replaced Jacob Fatu and chose his right-hand man, Tamatonga, which is what I did mention earlier. Trekkipedia says, have you tried the Coke Zero Oreo flavour? I'm not an Oreo guy. Michael says, AEW has plenty of stories. I don't get why some people just can't understand them. Very true, very worth mentioning. Hector would trade New Day to AEW. Very good shout. They do very well there. For FTR, the top guys can return. Interesting, because they've done kind of everything they can in the tag division in AEW. I think that would be a good show. KJ says trade. I'd say Adam Cole for AJ Styles. Ooh. Now, to be fair, WWE is definitely getting the win there. But I do think AJ Styles would do well over there as well. Roger says JBL showed up at TNA Victory Road, took out Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards to stop them helping Moose win against Nick Nemeth. Okay. Old guard. Sean said, I sent you the report by Fightful about Charlotte in your Twitter DMs, Tom. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you. Balor Club Guys podcast says, hey, Tom, keep up the great work. Thank you. I think Finn should win over Damien at Bad Blood since it's Finn's first PLE match since Mania 40. Is it? That is a long time. One says, PWInsider also reported Megan Thee Stallion and Mercedes Money had a deal to work in AEW before she did the new SmackDown song. AEW should just get Nicki Minaj as a replacement celebrity. Why does there have to be a replacement celebrity? Why is that deal interrupting any other deal? I'm not aware of any exclusivity there, just a song that was made. Hassan says hi there. Hello, Hassan. And Hector says, here's the real question, Tom. Will Roman and Cody be able to coexist? Always a question that we need to ask. Always that question. One last match I want to talk about, and that is, of course, what I expect to main event at Bad Blood. That is the Hell in a Cell match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Yeah. I think this is the glory moment for CM Punk. I think Drew McIntyre takes a couple of weeks off. And honestly, from where I'm sitting, I'm excited for this one. The feud has gotten better over time. The SummerSlam match wasn't great. And with the friendship bracelet broken, it now isn't about a friendship bracelet. Now CM Punk can go fully Super Saiyan and go full insanity. And honestly, Hell in a Cell definitely seems like the right move. I think Bad Blood has the makings of a very, very good show. I'm excited for the possibilities. And honestly, I'm just excited to see Hell in a Cell back and absolutely kicking. I'm hyped for this one. Angel says, do you see Tiffany Stratton entering WrestleMania as champion or cashing in after Mania? I see her entering WrestleMania as champion. The Rabbit says, do you have any idea who's winning the Rumble next year? Not at this time. There's been whispers and concepts. Becky Lynch's name has come up naturally, but nothing conclusive just yet. I do think it's possible that Drew McIntyre wins a second one. Mick says, thank you, Tom, it's very kind. You're very kind yourself, sir. Roger says, will TNA or NXT invade each other's shows and get an invasion like WWE and WCW? No plans for that at this point. Matter, welcome back. So I could translate your content into Australian. I mean, if that helps grow your channel, you are absolutely welcome for it. Ross says, on a temporary swap, KO for Will Ospreay is a short-term trade. You mean like for a year? Could be fun. I do think trades and swaps like that would really benefit everyone involved. Sean says, Randy keeps adding muscle. He's nearly 300 pounds now. Yeah, he buff. We have 116 people watching, 59 likes. One more gets us to 60, which is a nice round number. I'd appreciate you doing so for me. This time, 3 days ago, I was saying that we were 9 subscribers away from 6,900. That is no longer the case. After only 3 days, we're now 2 subscribers away from 6,950, meaning we continue to develop, we continue to increase, we continue to get closer and closer and closer to some big numbers. With this close to 7,000, not only that, but over the course of the last month, the last 28 days, we've had 174,800 views, which has officially put us back on track to end the year at the million. That is primarily shorts views, but primarily shorts views are views nonetheless, and they're definitely driving quite a lot of traffic. I want to say thank you to everyone who's consistently watching the shorts now. They're quite different, and I hope you're enjoying them, and I hope they're very much to your tastes. Marcel says, my predictions. Liv wins with help from Raquel. Gunter wins. Source wins? Source? Who's Source? CM Punk wins and Cody and Roman win. Source? That's Sammy. Interesting. Bam Bam says, you mentioned previously creative team and Taylor have some different ideas about the direction of Wyatt 6. Are there any big problems there or not? There are no big problems there whatsoever. I want to be very clear. Yes, they disagree as regards the execution of the Wyatt 6. There are no actual issues with this. Disagreements are pretty regular when it comes to any Wyatt project, including this one, which doesn't necessarily have Bray himself involved. There are different concepts about how to execute this overall character, but I have no qualms about it. There are no issues there. Spider-Boss says, there's always people complaining about AEW saying there isn't stories. There is stories, people just love to complain. Yep, that does happen quite a bit. Calvin says, hey Tom, how do you feel about WWE coming back on house shows? I reported it was going to be happening several months ago. The WWE, particularly Nick Khan, does not see the house shows as particularly profitable, and when it comes to cutting the amount of overall availability of their wrestlers and their shows, these also increase ticket sales for TV, and it also allows them to increase the prices. Sid says, did you like Nick Patrick versus Earl Hebner feud? No. Trekipedia says, do you see Keith Lee returning to WWE after his AEW contract ends? Maybe. I think he might sign a new deal, to be fair. One says Britt Baker for Bayley. Britt Baker could do very well over in the WWE with some of the talent here, and I do think Bayley as a locker room leader would be very valuable, especially with Mercedes money already being there. White Six says, is AJ Styles still on creative hiatus? This is going to take me to a little bit of a report on AJ Styles, which I've got here. I reported on this briefly, but to reiterate, I saw PWInsider. No, not PWInsider. I saw a report, but I can't remember who by. I've got to be honest, I can't remember who by. But I saw a report stating that AJ Styles is cleared, he's ready, he just hasn't turned up on TV yet, and the WWE aren't using him. As I have mentioned previously, there is a negotiation ongoing about a potential new contract for AJ Styles. AJ Styles, to my knowledge, is not particularly interested in signing a new deal, or he hasn't been until recently, and intended his current deal to be his final deal with the WWE. There is talk now of AJ Styles being available for TNA and for other promotions, and he's looking to get that ironclad into the contract as well. So there is lots of talk right now. PWInsider have previously reported that AJ Styles would be returning. That was never planned. PWInsider were wrong. And that's why we haven't seen him since. AJ Styles is still a wrestler for the WWE. He will be used when available, but at the moment, he's just working house shows, and with house shows being cut down, he's working less dates than ever before. Marcel would trade Drew McIntyre for MJF. I do feel like we're getting some really fair trades here. Like NXT, AEW is benefiting from these. WWE is benefiting from these. There's only one that I would say is quite one-sided so far. Kevin said, don't cry, Tom. I'd trade Becky Lynch for Mercedes money. Why would I cry? It'd be a good shout. It would help everyone involved. Blue says, when it comes to AEW, they definitely have stories. The issue is equality. Not a lot of Hangman Swerve stories making the rest up and down the card forgettable. It's interesting because I've not reported anything on AEW today. Not reported anything. Gordy says, SmackDown and USA Network had a different energy to it. SmackDown now having picture-in-picture during commercial breaks, and SmackDown now has an overrun. Smartable says, FTR has done well in AEW. At least now AEW is focused on the tag division. WWE isn't focused on theirs. Very true. Eddie Gomez says, SRS said we could see Malachi Black return to WWE. Reported that months ago. Your opinion about this? That I reported it months ago. And any update on when the Lucha Brothers debut? To my knowledge, they are still technically under contract to AEW. Spider-Boss says CM Punk gets the win and Drew will get a GTS. Roger says, will Roman and Cody have a double team finisher? Not impossible, but I can't really see the spear and the crossroads working well together. Battle Club Guys podcast says, I'll be attending Bad Blood. Going to be a great show. I hope you have a great time, mate. KJ says, WWE wins because Cole has more time left, but I just felt Styles has done everything he can in WWE while Cole has either been hurt or been booked decent at best in AEW. Cole in Triple H's NXT was God. Yes, he was, and he is the future of AEW. Noob, as I've said previously, my information, as I've reported, is that Charlotte Flair has been cleared. They're just waiting for the right time to use her. This is one of those where I have different information. White Six says, when do you see White Six making their PLE debut? The Royal Rumble. Bailey says, how is WWE responding internally to Chelsea Green's work? They absolutely love it. That's why she was chosen to be the first to work with Julia. Michael says, KO would be so perfect for AEW. I always wanted him to go there. Hector says, Tom, if the reports are true that WWE will not renew their deal with Def Rebel, do you think they'd legitimately be able to get more licensed music for wrestlers because they can get expensive logically? Yes, absolutely they can. What they'll do is if it's too expensive, they'll say, nah, and find something else. For those unaware, my entrance theme, my finish is called the Rapture. It's an inverted jackhammer. They go face down. Anyway, my entrance music would be Master Passion Greed by Nightwish. I just think that will get people going. KJ says there's so much supposed rumours being said in here from other wrestling news reporters. If true, they're very exciting. Have to go look into them. Sean says, I think I saw something that said Tony Khan has no interest in signing Matt Riddle. He doesn't. That's true. Roger says, will there be any TNA wrestlers showing up on NXT October 1st show? Probably. Kelvin says, Bad Blood going to be 7 matches if you had Jay versus Bron Breakker. Spider-Boss says, my proposal for a trade, Bayley to AEW and Britt Baker to WWE. Not the first time that's been said. Ross says, for being a wrestling fan for so long, I actually first became aware of Will Ospreay early on this channel, and I occasionally watch New Japan as well. I first became aware of him in 2014 when I saw him wrestle John Morrison. It was amazing. Calvin says, in my honest opinion, both Raw and SmackDown should have moved up to 3 hours. Gives all the superstars plenty of TV time. I'd very much rather them stay to 2. Michael says, Fightful Select were the ones to report AJ is healthy and not being used. Thank you for confirming, Michael. KJ says, speaking of Britt Baker, any word in her contract? Maybe she signed 5 years in 2019. I don't know, but I'm just curious. No word that I'm aware of, but she has been injured a few times, and that has added time onto her contract. Rickan says, do you see AJ Styles re-signing? I do. Roger says, I want to see AJ show up at TNA Bound for Glory. You may get your wish. KJ is also hoping AJ signs 1 more deal. Trekipedia wants to swap the Outrunners for the Rascals. Interesting. This guy says, other than Daniel Garrix, will be any contracts coming up this fall in WWE and AEW that haven't been reported? Yes. KJ says, hopefully he doesn't disappear like Bobby. The Rabbit says, any idea who Cena might face for his first match on his farewell tour? Not booked yet. Kevin says, nothing more for AJ Styles to do at WWE, only 2 matches, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And Sean says, do you know if the reports of Motor City Machine Gun signing with WWE? I'm guessing that's followed up by, are true. And no, I don't. I also don't know if they're false. I have no information there. One says, AEW get Tiffany Stratton, WWE gets Mariah May, win-win. Ooh, I see. Blue says, Tom, when it comes to negotiations, do you think either AEW or WWE would actually challenge if a wrestler admitted to talking to the other company? As they aren't employees, it should be legal. To be clear, Swerve was very open about the fact that he reported that WWE reached out to him. Spider-Boss says that the story right there for Charlotte versus Nia or Tiffany would be good. That's not a story, that's just an opponent. Roger says, who would you trade from WWE to TNA? I wouldn't. I'd continue to do the exact situation that we've got now, where everyone's involved. Roger suggests trading Jade Cargill for Jordan Grace. Sherry says, hi Tom and all. Happy Monday, Sherry. Lane says, I'd trade AJ Styles to TNA for Joe Hendry. Blair says, Tom, if Monday Night Raw was on a Tuesday, would it still be called Monday Night Raw? No. Danny says, hello Tom, hope you're good. Everyone smash the likes up. Kevin says, can we see AJ Styles for AJ Lee? No. And Wikipedia says, Mina Shirakawa for Ariana Grace. Some good options there. I like that we've gone sort of down the roster a little bit more now, and we're really creating a lot of opportunities. That was a good question. Honestly, I feel like that's been a really good discussion because we've had some really good options there. I don't think most of them have been in any way unfair. They've all been really good options. I don't know, it's lovely stuff. 2 more likes to 70. Keep them rolling. 2 more subscribers to 6,950. Keep them rolling. Next news. Triple H has essentially been forced to acknowledge the tag championships after forgetting about the fact that Judgment Day are tag champions. With Odyssey Jones out of the picture for reasons unconfirmed, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston suddenly found themselves with nothing to do. And a New Day with nothing to do will be going to the boss's office, and so they did. The New Day made a point of communicating that they wanted to at least compete for the tag team championships because the tag team championships aren't doing anything. So why not get them involved? With Odyssey Jones out of the picture, they're hoping to essentially make people forget about everything that's just happened. So Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston have reminded Triple H that he has tag team championships that need to be defended, and they've immediately gotten their wish. I also have a little bit on the new deal for Natalya. Natalya did sign a new WWE contract. It is not believed to be particularly lucrative, and it is also expected to keep her firmly away from the women's main event scene. Natalya will not be treated as a draw, will not be treated as a big name, but will be used to further develop the future of WWE. The entire break, she's been doing some work with Jade Cargill. She's been working to keep developing people at the Performance Center, and there is a new coaching and training element to her contract. I was always confident this is where she would end her career in WWE, in NXT, coaching and training the next generation and providing production and road agency to make sure the matches are of the highest quality possible. Natalya is believed to be happy overall. She gets plenty more time off and she's now still well paid and now in the coaching side as well. So she's believed to be very happy with where she is. Sean says, I'm not a fan of Raw going to 2 hours in October. They have so much talent, not all of them will get featured. Bam Bam says, is there any fresh news about NXT Europe? Things have been going again. There's been more talk about it now that WWE is spending more time in Europe, but nothing confirmed just yet. No contracts have been signed, while some people have been approached. Sid says, what do you call a deer with no eye? No idea. Wow. Trekkipedia says almost at 70 likes. We are in fact nice. At 69. Marcel said I'd trade Charlotte for Jamie Hayter. Ooh. You're giving me really good options here. Spider-Boss says I thought it would be Damian Priest and Jey Uso versus the Judgment Day for the tag team titles since Priest and Jey defeated the Judgment Day. Plenty of different options available, but the New Day have got the moment. The Rabbit hopes New Day win. Kervin says Natalya didn't want to bet on herself. In fact, what actually happened is that Natalya got exactly what she wanted. Sid says my dream match is Natalya versus Jordynne Grace. Juan says Jade Cargill back to AEW, Camille to WWE. Y6 says, do you think eventually a TNA wrestler will win the NXT title? No. And Spider-Boss says, I don't get why Jade doesn't talk much on TV in WWE. Jade was good on the mic when she was on AEW, now she doesn't speak much. The WWE believe there is a confidence issue that they are attempting to address. Sid said, is there any plans for Natalya to show up in TNA? Nothing has been confirmed as of yet, though it is an option now available to her where it wasn't previously. A little bit of news and predictions on who I expect for the Women's War Games match. It is believed to be a cross-promotional event, meaning both Raw and SmackDown superstars will be appearing. While there is talk of essentially Team Ripley versus Team Liv, that is not where we're going with this, because that very much says, hi, these two are the important ones. It would not necessarily be team captains per se, particularly when you consider who's going to be on each team. Now I'm looking at the listings and what I personally expect, and I'm looking at a face side which features Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, whereas on the heel side, Liv Morgan would naturally feature alongside Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. A lot of focus is being put on Tiffany Stratton at this point. As regards another heel on the Raw side, it's difficult to find one. It's genuinely difficult to find one. So I do think we may add Naomi on the face side and then a tag team on the heel side that's working with Cargill and Belair. I'm looking at Io Sky and Kairi Sane, for example. There would be good fits overall for that. But the Women's War Games match is not locked in place. There is still a lot of working out to do. Triple H is currently still finalising the list of who will be involved. Marcel would trade Omos for Wardlow. KJ says, still no interest in Hardys from WWE. I want the cheap pop. Matt does too, apparently. He does. WWE don't trust it. As I said when Matt and Jeff Hardy left AEW, WWE not interested. Not at all. Spider-Boss says, for the Women's War Games match, I see Bianca and Jade joining Rhea. Roger says, will we see any TNA wrestlers in War Games? No. Spider-Boss says, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn would fit on Team Liv for War Games. Indeed. Hector says they could use Sonya if they heat her up. They are, to be clear, attempting to do so, and I would say quite successfully. Kevin says, what about 5 Raw, 5 SmackDown for the female War Games? You want Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan on one side? That ain't happening. That definitely ain't happening. LA Knight is expected to get a United States Championship match in Saudi Arabia. So LA Knight is essentially waiting for his turn. We will see, as we're having the Intercontinental Championship pushed right now, the United States Championship come into focus after Bad Blood. LA Knight is going to be a fighting champion. We've seen his work on SmackDown, but he at the moment is being considered a SmackDown champion rather than a PLE or overall WWE champion. Pardon me. So when we get to Saudi Arabia, LA Knight's moment is more likely to come then. Wyatt6 says, do you think they will convince Nick Nemeth to turn up to NXT? If they want him, he'll come. Noob says, Damage Control and Lyra Valkyria for Team Rhea Ripley, and PFC and Raquel Rodriguez for Team Liv. That's all Raw and doesn't involve SmackDown, as I previously mentioned. John says it would be cool to see an Alexa Bliss return at War Games. On whose side and why? Roger says TNA is the best fit for the Hardys. As I previously mentioned, I always expected them to go to TNA. I always reported they were going to TNA. That is what's happened. Razar says I'd trade Roxanne Perez for Athena. Interesting. One last piece of news that I wanted to share. And in many ways, it's more of a sort of statement. Fun fact. Don't you think Rikishi's got real quiet since Jey Uso started working on Rhea Ripley? Do you remember when Rikishi was going through that phase of hating the storylines of his children? Shut up now, hasn't he? Maybe it was a shared stink face. Maybe that was the move that was passed down through generations, Rikishi to Rhea Ripley. And maybe upon seeing that, Jey Uso just felt like he was at home. Something to it. 118 people watching, 75 likes. 5 more gets us to 80. A nice round number. In the meantime, though, last few comments. Kervin says Team Tomorrow versus Team Dave Meltzer for War Games. Drekipedia says Rikishi complains about Jay but doesn't say a word about Solo. And Zane says, will Roman ever show up in TNA? No. We are going to wrap up there. We'll be live once again on Friday, so please do check that out. But in the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.